Sadam, Sadam, welcome back to the stream. Thank you everyone for coming. Sadam Sohail, good to see you. Today we are going to talk about anatomy. We're going to talk about how the human body shows a fractal structure. A fractal is something that a part of itself is similar to the bigger part. So a small part of a body is the same as the bigger part. We can see fractals in nature, for example, in ferns. That's the most common example that is given, where if you take one leaf of the fern, and you zoom in, you see it has the same shape as the big fern. So this concept that a small part can be similar to the bigger part is something that is often found in the human body as well. We're going to study this with the numbers. We're going to be reflecting a little bit more in depth on some of the details that we filled in on this table that we were doing the other day with the dictionary of numbers. And I put these things here very quickly. And today I would like to explore them maybe a bit slower to kind of justify why am I putting something on one number or another, to try to explain it a little bit more to see if it's more clear, because I was running a little bit and I think it deserves a bit more of explanation. But human body is like a fractal in the sense that if you look at the hand, you can see there is like, you can look at it like this. Let me put it like here. Yeah, you can see it's like one, no, it doesn't show very well. Okay, let me do it like this then. It's like a head and two arms and two legs. So it's like five extremities. Well, if you look at acupuncture of the hand, you will find that this is the head and this is the arms and this is the legs and the organs are found here. So if you are doing acupuncture on the hand, you can find a similarity between looking at the human hand like the whole human body. So one hand would be a reflection of the whole the whole body itself. You can find this concept in the ear, like the whole body being hidden in an ear. You can see a person that is kind of in fetal position here in the ear. You can see a reflection of the whole body in the nose, in the tongue, in one thumb, in any part. One part of the body has a representation of the whole. You can see this even to the smallest part. If we go to the one cell of the body, which is like the individual unit of the body, the cell, within the one cell you contain the DNA, which has the information on how to construct the whole body. So this is the fractal concept, that the small part is similar to the whole. And this idea, we're going to be exploring it on different levels. And the levels are going to be showing these 5 aspects every time. 5 aspects, and we were going to link this to the 5 elements. But what levels are we going to be exploring? This is something that I often teach in the anatomy classes in the Kundalini Yoga teacher training for level 1 teachers, which is that the smallest unit in the body is the eukaryotic cell. That's one cell. And if you put a number of cells together, they form some sort of tissue. Now, putting them together, they are going to form, let's say, a stomach. They form an organ. And a number of organs together, you can find, let's say, you put the stomach here, we put the liver over there, and then the large intestine and smaller intestine, I don't know, smaller like that. This is like a whole system. Yes? Simple. From cell to system. And now, if on every one of these levels, we can find the idea that one part is similar to the whole. What would be the whole? Well, if we look at the whole, we can say, let's do it like this. I think in a video on what was it? Sacred geometry of chakras. I talked about this very famous drawing by Leonardo da Vinci, which he took it inspired from somebody else, where you can see that there is these proportions in the human body, and yeah. I'm not going to do a beautiful drawing today. I'm not so worried about the beauty of it, but the idea. This is the basic idea. We are like a star, and there's 5 aspects of us, and if we explore them following the same directions we have been exploring the number 5, particularly the pentagram, this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 would be fire, so here we're going to find the fire. And then 1 is earth. Earth. And then 4 is air. And 2 is water. And the 5 is ether. Now we have seen this already a few times, so I don't need to explain it, but if you wish to know more about this, you can see the introduction on number 5, and we go a bit more in detail on that. Well, okay. If we take this to the level of systems, let's do it like this. Let me put in another page. By the way, it's nice to draw as a 5-pointed star in one movement. You can try in a paper, it's kind of fun. And by the way, the 5-pointed star, this concept that there is a small part within the whole, you can see a little one, a little 5-pointed star within the big one. And you could see another one here, and so on. So you can see this is kind of like the fractal again, yeah, up to infinitum, infinity. Okay. So I mentioned system, organs, tissue, cells. So if we go to system, we can find that there is, let's put it like this. Let's remember the numbers. That would be, well, I'm going to put the number directly, okay? And you remember fire, earth, air, and water. Well, the fire in the systems on the body is associated to the digestion. Digestion requires fire to digest food. So we can. Oh, sorry. Did I do it like this the other day? No, I was. Yeah. I was putting it differently. Sorry. I was saying that there is digestion was I associating it to earth, because this is where we digest the solids, that we take solids into the body and solids comes out of the body. So I was putting digestion into the 1. So let me put it like this. We could see there could be an argument for digestion being associated to fire as well, because there is a fire to digest. But it's not only that. Digestion has other factors, not only the fire aspect. But let's put it like this, where we took something solid and then we process it. And then something solid comes out of the body. And we hopefully receive all the nutrients, the little ingredients of something that we need for the body. And something that was, this is going to be 1 and 9, by the way. Let me just put it correctly. This is going to be 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6, 5 and 10. On the 1 and 9, we have the digestion, and we also have the bone system, skeletal system. Skeletal. I'm not sure it's written like this. I think it has an E before. Skeletal. Yeah. Skeletal system. So why bones? Well, because bones are the hardest part of the body, like the earth. And they produce blood, which is also very much connected to number 1. And the bones hold us upright. Is the skeletal structure that we have in the human body helps us to stay upright, like number 1, vertical. So this is going to be associated to 1. If there is any question, you can feel free to ask, okay? Feel free to ask in the chat. I will just be exploring slowly, but if there is more questions, you can ask. I want to go a little bit more in detail than we did the other day, but I don't know how much detail I want to go. So feel free to ask it otherwise. This is the one. The 2 was the water. In the water, we have the fluids. And the fluids, there are 2 kinds of fluids mainly. One of these would be systems, by the way. Let me write it here. There is the genitourinary system, which corresponds to the sexuality, which is a very watery thing and associated to the 2nd chakra. And urinary is linked to the release of a liquid through the body, and purifying. And you may remember that in the 2 and the 8, we had this water and fluids and cleaning ourselves. Purity is part of water. Water helps us to clean. So the kidneys, the bladder, they're all going to be linked to this aspect of watery within the body. So genitourinary is one of them. And then there is another system of liquids in the body, which is the lymphatic. And this is when the lymph, it's some liquid that flows through the body, and it has, excuse me, some of the internal processes in the cells produce some toxins which stay floating around, and then you need to get them back and gather them to release them. And the body has a mechanism for this, which is this liquid, which gathers all these toxics and toxicity and accumulates it into the different areas of the body, and then releases that. This is called the lymphatic system. The areas would be like under here, under the armpit, for example, linked very close to the chest, which is one of the reasons why, I think probably the main reason why some women suffer from cancer in the breast cancer is linked to this, the accumulation of toxins in this area and not being released. So it's good to say. Somehow my English today is very slow. Please be patient with me. I don't know why, but somehow my English is getting slower today for some reason. So the body needs to release these toxins, and it gathers them through this lymphatic system that's liquid, and again linked to the watery aspect of the body. And again, water is the element that we use to clean. If we had to clean something, we could clean it blowing, we could clean it with fire, we could clean it with putting sand on it. But the most efficient way and the most healthy way to clean anything, to make sure it stays clean, that's water. So this lymphatic system, this liquid that moves through the body, that's also been linked to purity and to cleanliness and releasing toxins in the body. So that's what we put in here. The second system associated to the water. Then comes the fire, and the fire, there's the muscular system. The muscular system is the main way in which the body produces heat. It's the muscles, the movement and the activity of the muscles, which produces the feeling of heat and produces heat in the body. And when we are cold, we are shaking. The muscles are making a big effort to try to compensate for this coldness to produce heat. Namaskar, Sandesh, Satnam, welcome. Good to see you. So fire is associated to the muscles, and the muscles allows us to run and to move and action, and that's fire. Fire is associated to action. In the Mul Mantra, we would have Ek Onkar. Kar means action. So again, Kar being linked to muscles and being linked to fire and being linked to action, all these things connected. The other thing that is linked to fire is the circulatory system. So the blood is fire in a different way in this case. Fire can be used to warm up, yes, but we use fire to make tools. We melt metal and we give it a shape of something that we can later utilize. So 3 and 7 is the language of something useful, something that we utilize. Now the circulatory system, one of the main reasons it has is to move things around in the body for wherever they are needed so that they can be utilized. So it is the most useful vehicle. Yeah, Ekonkar, Kar is a vehicle as well. No? So it moves, and movement is action, fire. It moves nutrients to what they are needed. It moves, this oxygen over here, and then this vitamin over here, and then whichever cell is needing that is going to pick it up through the blood. So the circulatory system is moving things around, distributing, arranging, and this goes here, this goes there, and is moving things around so that the whole system is supplied and we are able to function. I mean, technically, you would need all these systems to function. If you don't have any of these, any one of these would make us dysfunctional in some way. Yeah. Okay. Again, feel free to ask any question if I'm going too fast. When we go to the air, in the air, I mean, first of all, the air is linked to the lungs, and that's the respiratory system. That's clear. That's quite obvious, linked to the air and oxygen, and 4 and 6, it's happening in the lungs next to the 4th chakra. So that's pretty simple and reasonable. The other is the glandular system, what we sometimes call the endocrine as well. The endocrine system. And the glandular system is very associated to 4 and 6. The glandular system, it regulates many things, but one of the things is the defense mechanism in the body. When we have a virus coming in, actually it's our thyme gland, which is on top of the heart, which again linked to the 4th chakra, would detect if this is a foreign object to the body and this is actually something that is going to cause us harm, so we have to defend, and brings up the warrior in us, some little cells that are going to go and fight against this virus and kill it. Well, the warrior aspect, the warrior is linked to the 4 and the 6, more to the 6 than to the 4, actually. But today we're not going to do any differentiation. What is 1, what is 9, what is 3, what is 7, what is 2, what is 8, what is 4, what is 6. But we could say that the warrior is more the 6 aspect, even though, again, it's connected to the 4th chakra. They are very connected, very, very close to each other. Sometimes we call this the warrior or the saint, like the two faces of the yogi. Yeah, you can show the face of the saint, but if somebody's going to take advantage of you, or they're going to take advantage of somebody else, or somebody is defenseless, then you have the sword as well. So you are a warrior as well. So there is these both sides, both aspects of this warrior saint personality of the yogi, we could say. I don't know if personality is the right word, but yeah. All right, and out of all this, 5 and 10 would be the nervous system. I'm gonna write like this. Nervous system, and that would be both the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So the central would be the brain, and the peripheral would be everything around us. So you see, we could take this drawing and say, well, this is how, on the level of systems, this is how the human body is designed. And you can quite clearly see that there is these different axes, there is different energies to every one of these systems. And you can quite clearly identify, one is fire, one is air, one is water. If you start to study them, if you go a bit deeper, then it becomes more apparent. Sometimes they share characteristics, like for example, the digestion. I mentioned it has some fire in it, so it's connected. But it makes sense that it's connected, because these two numbers are connected and these two as well. We're going to see more about this in future videos, but there is a differentiation between this side of the star and this side of the star. We will see this possibly in the next video or in a few more. So there is things that are being shared, but everyone has its own characteristics and its own qualities. Also, let's say that if we take only one of these systems and we study its different parts, we can again identify the fractal going deeper. So just like we were doing the fractal here, going inside, you could also, let me do it in another color, a softer color. You can find this going like a zoom in. If we zoom in to one of the systems, we would find this one. Let's do it on the side. Let's do it here. So it's not too messy. Well, the central nervous system has it has one aspect that would be the central one is central, so it has to be in the middle, so it has to be 5, clearly, right? It's called central for a reason. But then there is different other aspects which are not the central nervous system. One of them is how is it called? Somatic. Basically the voluntary nervous system, the one that we give orders to the body to do something, to do some actions. Well, it's clearly why am I putting it here, right? 3 and 7, I say it was fire, and fire is action, and like the muscles, they move us. So this is the one that is going to send messages to the muscles to move and to do things, to do actions. So it makes sense. So that's somatic. That would be linked to the fire. Then there is the one would be the relaxing aspect. That would be the parasympathetic. Did I write this wrong? Oh, I wrote this wrong. I wouldn't say that's the somatic, is it? Let me think. Okay, I may change this in a moment. Let me just explore this. I sometimes make mistakes, but as I am speaking it, numbers are quite clear. There is no confusion about numbers, so the numbers will tell me whether it's right or whether it's wrong. Parasympathetic means relaxing. So the relaxation is the language of the number 1. Number 1 and the 9 is the language of the earth, and earth is still and is relaxing and is calm. So parasympathetic is very clearly relaxing. Now, if parasympathetic is the relaxing, sympathetic would be the activating. So this would not be somatic. This would be the sympathetic, which is the one that is activating me, the one that is moving me to do things. And so that would be the fire. Yeah, the fire is activating and earth is relaxing. And then we would have one more link to then we have, what do we have? Central nervous system, parasympathetic, sympathetic. We have the somatic, the sensory nervous system. That would probably link to either the central nervous system. We could say like the 5 senses. We could say that this is also somatic. Sorry, somatic, no, sensory. Sensory, like the 5 senses. And let me think. somatic. I wonder, what am I thinking about? Okay, I will explain what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is whether somatic nervous system, that's something conscious or not. I wonder if the actions that we do in the world, probably not. Probably they are just actions. They are not necessarily conscious, which would mean that somatic would be part of the fire as well. So my initial impulse to put this somatic in here would be fine as well, because it's not necessarily conscious. Because if it was conscious, then I would associate it to the 4 and the 6, like conscious decisions. But probably we would have to find more different ones. So I haven't finished doing this. I should have figured it out before starting the video, possibly. But I'm gonna leave it like this, because then there is also the enteric nervous system associated to the belly, the second brain that is set, and that would be another one that we should consider. Okay, I'm gonna leave it in like this. I'm gonna leave it unfinished, and I'm gonna think about this a little bit more before we continue on that side. Let's forget about this. Let's carry on with the idea of the systems, organs, tissue. We've done the systems. Let's go to the organs. All right, these are organs. Now, when we go to the level of the organs, it will be kind of connected to the systems, but the specific organ that we associate to every one of these branches are connected to the Chinese medicine. We look at it from the perspective of Chinese medicine. So there may be some things that are not, you may not see them very clearly associated to Western medicine, but let's just say that this is how we associate it to the Chinese medicine. So if we start from the 1 and the 9, again, we would have the first one of all would be the stomach. And it's the first because this is where the food comes in, and the first organ where the food comes in. And again, it works on the solids, on the solid aspects, the earth quality of the things that come into the body. Yeah, not like breathing in, that's air. This is something that we consume. This is earthy quality. And the 9, that would be the one, the 9, I'm going to make a differentiation here. It's quite clear, but maybe if you don't want, just think of it like 1 and 9. Don't even worry about whether it's 1 or whether it's 9. You can just look at it like this. It's just because sometimes we're going to be referring to this diagram probably, and it will be useful to know what is 1 and what is 9. Well, the 9 is what we call the spleen, or the pancreas. And I believe this is where we recycle and regenerate blood, old blood cells which are dying and they are not useful anymore. That's where they are taken and they are recycled. And again, probably some of these organs will have more than one function, but that's one immediate function that comes to me. 9 is the number of recycling and regenerating and rejuvenating and resting and relaxing. Is the something, because it's the last number, and that's the one before the next one. Because then is 10 is kind of a special number, and then the next level would be another 1. Or we can even say like 10 is 1 plus 0, let's say, and 11 is the second stage of the 10, which is 1 plus 1 is 2. And then 12 would be 1 plus 2 is 3. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then 10 is another 1 on the second level. So just before the next one, we recycle, we regenerate, we recuperate, we rest, we relax, we re. So this aspect that a blood cell has had a long life and now it's about to die, or it's already dead, and now we recycle that would be something that we connect to the number 9. Hopefully I'm making sense of this. Then there is the 2-1-DL. Let's go to the water. Then we have the bladder. Let's put it like this. And the kidneys. And the kidneys would be number 8 and the bladder number 2. And that is bladder because it's water, is where we accumulate it before we release it. And the kidneys is where we are doing the filtering, the cleansing and the cleaning. And number 8 is, I said 2 and 8, water is associated to cleansing. The 8, the infinity of the 8, because when you have to clean something, for example, you take some dirty shirt and you put it in water, and then you are doing this kind of rubbing movement, and sometimes it feels like infinity until it gets clean. Yeah, it takes a while to do this. So this could be, you could see this like a number 8, and so we associate number 8 to cleanliness, cleansiness, purity. Not so much to number 2, because number 2 is water, but it's at the very beginning of the path. And yeah. So bladder would be the accumulation of water to be released, and sometimes that accumulation of water can be toxic, and that's why it's more connected to the 2. And the kidneys is the actual cleaning and filtering, and that would be connected to the 8. 1, 2, 3. Let's go to the 3. Well, the third is the small intestines, which are very hot. These are probably the part of the body that is one of the most hot parts of the body, and the heat is helping to break down every. Is there a chakra on the spleen? Yes, Sohail, yes. There is actually chakras on every organ, and sometimes more than one. So I'm not sure how many does the spleen have. For example, the lungs, the right lung, just like segments, it has 3 chakras and the left one has 2. So there's so many chakras in the body, incredible. And there's definitely a spleen chakra. This is, I think I may be wrong, but I think in pranic healing, they said that we gather some of the sun energy through the spleen. So this is one of the ones that we absorbing the energy of the sun, which would be interesting because sun is number 10 and the spleen being number 9, you remember linked to number 9 would be the closest we have to the sun. So it would be interesting that we are gathering sun energy through there. There may be more than one chakra in the spleen, actually. Also the liver, I'm not sure the liver has 2 or 3 chakras. I think might have 3. I have it somewhere written down. But to me, some of these questions, whether there is more than one or not, it's more like a curiosity because I never work to that level of whether I'm working on the right chakra of the spleen or the left chakra of the spleen. I never go to that level. I don't even go to the level of the chakra of the spleen. However, when we have a sickness and it's affecting one organ, we can focus the energy on that organ, and we could say that that's focusing on that chakra of the organ, or let's say chakras of the organ. So we can do that, but also we don't need to know how many chakras does it have, unless you want to do some very, very specific work and you are a healer. Let's say if you are a healer and you have a person who is sick and you want to check something, then you may need to know what is one or is the other chakra. So is it the important chakra between Manipura and Anahata? I don't think so. I would say that there is chakras on every organ, and then there is the main chakras associated to the central channel of the spine. Those are the traditional 7 that go from, Muladhara in the first, Manipura that you are mentioning, that's the 3rd one, Anahata would be the 4th. And I mentioned a few times that between the 3rd and the 4th, there is a very important one that is more associated to the diaphragm. So that's what I sometimes call the 3.5, or Shiv calls it the 3.5. So that would be, this is Manipura, it's down here, Anahata, so it's here. So right there, and controlling the diaphragm, that's an extremely important chakra. but not associate. I wouldn't associate it to any organ apart from associating it to the diaphragm, which is already very important. Yeah, because all the many traumas and emotional experiences get trapped there. So that's very responsible for many issues, emotional issues. All right, so small intestine, that's the fire. That's associated to the fire. The 7 would be the heart. The heart. And the heart associated to the fire. But now we are not thinking about the heart chakra. We are thinking about the heart just like a muscle. And just like a the pumping of the muscle, and it's linked to the muscle, it's linked to the circulatory system, it's linked to both. It's a muscle and it pumps the circulatory system. So the heart is very much connected to this number 7. Also, again, many things are connected. Nothing is isolated. The whole and the body and the parts are connected, and the different parts are connected. It actually makes no sense to think of one organ isolated from the others, or even one chakra associated from the others. Sometimes something happening in one chakra is going to balance or imbalance another chakra. That's why Western medicine it's quite limiting in the vision when you go to a doctor, a specialist on one thing, and then you go for this issue on the stomach, and he's going to ignore everything else that is happening in the body and only tell you about what is that thing about the stomach. And Western medicine is incredible to give something that touches specific that point, but even though sometimes it may have secondary effects on many others, but at the same time it's very limited because it's only looking at that point. It's like you have some issue with the kidneys, and they are not going to ask you for your diet probably, or I don't know. There's so many aspects of ourselves are connected. We cannot isolate and differentiate. So, for example, we're talking about the heart, and the heart would be linked to number 7, but you could make an argument that is connected in some way. The heart has 4 chambers and is in the area of the 4th chakra, so we could connect it in that way. And there's a number of other things that we could see. But as an organ itself, as just the pump, as the muscle, then it's just on here, on the 7. All right. Well, we have the large intestine. That would be number 4. 4 is gases, air. And there's a lot of gases in here being produced. This is where we are doing the final absorption is mostly in the 3rd, in the small intestine, but this is the very final process of before something is being released. So there tend to be some gases accumulated in this area that could be as well. 4 is about receiving, 6 is about giving as well. So part of that reception is here. And the 6 would be the lungs, linked to the oxygen and CO2. So taking oxygen and releasing CO2. So that's again connected to the air. Now, if we look at organs as well, then we find 2 more organs that again, this is all from Chinese medicine. No, this is not the, how is it called? The gallbladder. The gallbladder is linked to number 10. Now, I don't know much about the gallbladder. Something that Shiv says, if it goes well, everything is fine, like the 10, everything. But if it's wrong, like there's problems in many places, and there's so many things that go wrong. But it's such a tiny little thing that has an impact on many parts of the body. The 5, that would be the liver, which is the metabolic part, metabolizing those residues which cannot be processed in another way, and transforming things in the body, and also it can even regenerate itself. These are all qualities from number 5. So this is like a vision of the human body on the systems level. This is a vision of the human body on the organs level. And as you see, they don't correspond to each other. So like the liver doesn't live in the nervous system. Yeah, I'm just saying if we go down to organs, we find 10 organs. If we go to system, we find 10 systems. Or, the nervous system has like 2 different aspects. So we can see this, that there is this number 10 appearing again and again, like the 10 fingers in the hand. It's not a coincidence. And what do we have next? System, organ, then tissues. Then we would go to tissue. Tissues. And again, we have the 1 and 9, 2 and the 8, the 3 and the 7, 4 and the 6, and the 5 and the 10. And if we look at tissues, and we actually did that already the other day, but let's repeat it again. The solids, the 1 and 9, the earth, that's the bones. That's the innermost layer of the body. Then after the bones, then there's a number of liquids, which could be blood, it could be lymph. So liquids. On the next layer, we have the parts, the tissue which gives the shape, the biggest shape of the body, and that's the muscles. We already talked about this the other day. I'm not going in depth with these ones because this one we did a bit more in detail. Then the next layer is the skin, very sensitive, which is it's making me think why. Well, never mind. It's okay. Skin, and then the last one is hair. So I don't know why I did this star much smaller than these ones, but I did it. Let me think. I would have liked to do this zoom in here more clearly. I'm gonna have to think about this one. But we can do this zooming in any one of these levels. Should we try to do it again? Let's try to do it with the hair. Let's see if it works better. Let's do this. Let's think about the hair. Hair has to have 5 functions, I believe. One of them is 3, the fire. This is going to be about keeping you warm. Hair. So hair keeps us warm. That's pretty simple and straightforward. Hair, it's about, part of the hair it helps to release pheromones. I believe even the armpit, the hair in the armpit, is going to be releasing pheromones out into the air, which is going to be useful for sexual attraction. And that therefore is going to be 2 and 8. Hair is useful to reduce rubbing in the body, friction, which could be something linked to the earth. Hair, sensitive, sensorial. I'm going to put it here like the skin, very sensitive. The hair helps to sense, like the hair, the whiskers of a mouse or some other animals. The hair helps to sense flow of air, for example. And we also say that the hair is an antenna to communicate and to receive information. That's why we collect it in the top of our head, and we tie it with a knot to meditate, because this is our antenna to receive signals. So it increases our sensitivity to these subtle realms. So we could find 5 different categories of qualities of hair. Maybe there is more, I don't know. But even if there is more, this is the thing about numbers. This is an interesting way that it can help you to learn about numbers. Or learn about anything. You want to learn anatomy, then you bring it down to the numbers level, and it's going to help you to go in depth into something. Now we could probably go even deeper into the cell. So if we go into the level of the cell, we will have to search what does an eukaryotic cell have inside. Now I'm not a biologist, so my knowledge is very limited from what I have studied on, becoming a teacher, basically, but a teacher trainer. But we could have to look at the cell membrane and the cytoplasma and the Golgi apparatus and the nucleus, the different parts of the cell. We will have to look at every part of the cell. What does it do? And we will have to link it to 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6 and 5 and 10. There was one time when I did it. I remember going through all the aspects of the cell and analyzing it. This is my notes that I did from that time. So you can find it here, but I don't know, because I'm not a biologist. I'm not gonna go into that, because then I would probably mess up even more than I'm probably already messing up. So I think it's enough. So okay, what do we understand from this? That no matter how deep we go into the body, whether we go to the level of the cells or we go to the tissues or the organs or the system, there's going to be the 5 is going to appear. The 5 tattvas are going to appear, or the 5 pairs of numbers are going to appear in some way on these levels. That's interesting. The 5 is helping us classify the world. By the way, it's not the only way we can classify the world. Actually, the odd numbers are all very much bringing us some sort of structure to the information. So we look at number 3 or 5 or 7 or 9. We were just exploring 5, like the tattvas, and associating everything to the tattvas. But we could have been doing this with 3, like the gunas. So if anybody has studied a little bit of yogic philosophy, even in the Bhagavad Gita, you will come upon the gunas, the Tama, Raja, Sattva, and you can look at anything through those glasses of, is it tamasic, is it rajasic, is it sattvic? If we look at through the language of the 7, we would look at it through the language of the chakras, like 7 chakras. We could look at every organ and see which organ is associated to which chakra, which gland is associated to which chakra. This is something we do in the teacher training also, that we see every chakra with the corresponding organ and gland and color and mantra and drawing of the symbol and so on. So that gives us a lot of information as well. On the number 9 is numbers. So on the level of 9 would be the language of numbers. So we explore through the language of numbers. So today we were focusing on the 5 because we are doing the course on number 5. But this hopefully brings a little bit more explanation to this, that we went a little bit fast the other day here. Now, if you were here on the last video that we did the dictionary, you may realize that this line is new. That's because when we were doing the the live stream on last Thursday, it was an open live stream, questions and answers. I was just there and people were asking questions. It was very interesting. And one question came up and it was associated to this. And it was to education. And I was like, well, education is one of the 5, let's say, main realms of I don't know how to say that, but realms of, I don't know, how could we call this? I'm not sure what word would I use to do this. But you can go into education, you can go into arts, you can go into science, you can go into healing, you can go into magic. Education is linked to 5 and 10 because it's like the words, teaching and studying. This is 5 and 10. 10 would be studying and 5 would be teaching. 4 and 6 is linked to the heart and sensitivity, and consciousness is linked to art. Art is supposed to touch us in some way, right? 3 and 7 is science and technology, is the industry, is fire, is something that is moving us forward in society. We invent things, we create things with our mind, and we develop them and we apply them. This is all 3 and 7. 2 and 8, today I talked a lot about cleansing and cleaning, and that's linked to healing. Healing is about removing toxicity, tensions, resistance, and disease. So healing is the language of the 2 and the 8. And 1 and 9, it's magic. You can be study magic and make magic in the world. I'm not talking a magician who makes tricks. Tricks would be 3 and 7. This is not smoke and mirrors. This is about real magic. Ways of approaching the world? Yeah, that could be it. Yeah, 5 ways of approaching the world. Yeah, 5. It's not skills, because skill is the language of 3 and 7, but 5 ways of approaching the world, maybe. Yeah. All right. Well, ending with magic, to me, when I look at all these things, these diagrams, it's a way to connect to magic. When I say this, I have this feeling that we live in a magical world, and magic is within us. And you go back to down to any level, and there's numbers there. Up to another level, there's numbers there. And looking around in nature, there's numbers there. Looking inside of us, there's numbers there. And when you put them all together, they start to draw like a tapestry, yeah? They start to interconnect and make a drawing that is quite revealing. Because sometimes a person is talking about something, and somehow they're having some issue, and you are listening to them, and there is a lot about number 3 in that issue. And then later on, they're talking about something else, but then they reveal that they have some problems in the small intestine. Maybe this bowel syndrome, how is it called? Anyway, and you may be, oh, well, it's just a different thing, but it has the same number. So the moment that you're talking to somebody and they're talking about something else, but it's the same number, it may be connected. Also, they brought it in the conversation. Why? We were talking about this, now we are talking about this. Why is that? So the fact that they have the same number, they are connected in some ways. And sometimes by dealing the issue on this level, maybe a psychological level, then suddenly resolves the intestines. So that's how it's magical, really. For me, magic is the most rational way to understand the world. Yeah, magical is going beyond the rational, is really non-rational. But somehow, how can you understand the world otherwise? Yeah. So the thing is, this understanding that you are referring to, Sohail, is a deeper understanding. It's a different kind of understanding than the understanding that we get from our minds. Because when we understand through the mind, we understand through the intellectual mind, which is the intellectual understanding, which is always reasonable because it utilizes reason. But when we apply not our intellect, but our intelligence. And that's something that goes either deeper or higher. This is, I would say, it comes more from our higher selves, intelligence, while intellect comes from our lower self, more like the intellect is more in the mind and the higher self is higher. When you connect to the higher intelligence, you can understand the world in a different way, and magic just makes sense. It's magical and it makes sense. And it makes sense, but not in a rational way, in a way that you understand it. But it's more intuitive in a way. It's connected to intuitive. It's connected, intuition and intelligence. It's an intuitive application of the intelligent perception, something like that. But yeah, we're going into a different realm right now, yeah, by talking about this. But it's most interesting. All right. I hope that it was interesting. Anatomy of the human body, studying it through this fractal perspective of the many layers. The next video, we will continue with number 5. Hopefully, very interesting as well. If you find it interesting, don't forget to click the like on the way out, if not on the way in. And yes, that's it for me today. Have a lovely day. Until next time, Saddam.